We want to bring in Mark Green, a Tennessee congressman who served in Afghanistan and Iraq and now serves on the House Armed Services and Foreign Affairs committees. You have had a lot to say on this week, Congressman. I appreciate you joining us again. Your Republican colleague, Rick Scott, in the Senate just sent out a note saying President Biden must immediately and forcefully respond to protect Americans and safely complete this evacuation. Where is Joe Biden right now? We need to hear from him.
Well, thanks for having me on, Sandra. From what I'm hearing from my contacts on the ground there's still direct fire engagements going on. So I'm sure this situation is evolving, and they probably, before he gets up and says something to the nation, wants to know exactly what's happening. So I'm not sure that the engagement is actually ended over there right now, from what I'm hearing. But yeah, I mean, Joe Biden's been absent, won't take questions, and is basically being deceptive with the nation on what's really going on over there. So I don't know what to expect from him, but I agree 100%. This is a chance to basically say the Taliban failed, so this August 31st is out the window. We're gonna secure every American and get them out of there. It's a reset opportunity, and hopefully the president takes it.
Congressman, the U.S. military has said that, and the political leadership has said that if the Taliban were to launch an attack against U.S. forces trying to evacuate people, that there would be a robust response. This appears to have come from a separate group. We don't know if it was directed by the Taliban or not. The former National Security Advisor for President Trump, H.R. McMaster, a decorated general, believes that it could have been a straw man for the Taliban. But what do you think the U.S. response to this immediately should be?
I think the President of the United States should come out and say all bets are off. The Taliban have absolutely defied this agreement by not securing, they didn't keep their promise to secure the access routes to the airfield. We are going to expand this operation. I'd put more military in there. I'd get every single American out, and I'd start killing bad guys.
Well, I don't know. Do you think that this president is showing any willingness to change strategy? Every time we hear from him, he seems to place blame on everyone but himself for what is happening there while sticking to that August 31st deadline.
The best thing for America, and that was a question to me about what I would do. The best thing for America right now would be for Joe Biden to resign or for the cabinet to step up and take him out. He's either lying to the American people or he can't comprehend what's going on. His secretaries of defense, state come out and contradict things he says all the time, whether it's the Afghans don't want to leave or they don't want to fight or, nobody told me it was a bad idea to withdraw. All of these things are false. He either has no clue and therefore shouldn't be the president of the United States, or he's lying, which means he shouldn't be the president of the United States. It's time for Joe Biden to be gone. That's the best thing for America.
Congressman, let me just turn this back to the situation on the ground there in Afghanistan and what should happen between now and the time that either the U.S. military is told to pull out or we stay long enough for all of the U.S. citizens and eligible Afghans to be taken out. The idea has been raised of reopening Bagram Air Base because it's much easier to defend than Hamid Karzai Airport. You can get a lot more planes in there, and maybe it's going to be a little bit of a hornet's nest to get it back. But should the U.S. military be ordered to go in there and take back Bagram and extend evacuation operations for as long as it takes?
So I think they should do something. We've talked about Bagram a lot in the past few days, so now the enemy's probably thinking about that too, and who knows what they're doing to Bagram right now. But I think somewhere, and we shouldn't probably telegraph where it's going to be, we should open up sort of a second front on this thing, spread the enemy out, have other runways accessible. I think that's probably the smartest thing to do. I'm not necessarily at this point, going back into Bagram could be very expensive because we basically telegraphed that for several days.
You look at Lindsey Graham's words on strategy going forward, and he says, and we have heard from him, advocating for days, he says, that the Bagram Air Base should be reopened as the Kabul airport's very difficult to defend, and it has been the only evacuation outlet. He says we have the capability to reestablish our presence there, to continue to evacuate American citizens and our Afghan allies. He says that's the biggest mistake that has been made in this debacle, was abandoning Bagram. So you wonder if, knowing that there's a huddle happening right now with everyone who's making the decisions on what happens next there, you wonder if that's being considered.
Well, I certainly hope so. I think Bagram is a choice. There may be someplace better, but clearly going in there and taking it will be expensive, but it may be the only way we can get all of the Americans out of there. And it shouldn't even be a question that we would leave without all the Americans out. And I've been really frustrated with Secretary Blinken because he's out there basically saying, well, they haven't called us back, so they must not want to leave. I think that's a little bit flippant and unsettling to me.
Congressman, you served in Afghanistan as a member of the Army, so you know all about force protection, what happens when something like this goes on. I assume that they're going to redouble their efforts at force protection as a result of this. I would hazard to say that those gates may never reopen again for anybody who's not at the airport. Essentially, I mean, when you look at the fact we've only got 3 days to get out, or 5 days rather to get out before the deadline, and some part of that is going to go to getting the U.S. forces out. People who are not inside that airport now, are they basically out of luck?
Well, I think if the president continues the strategy that he's on, and he doesn't seize this opportunity of the failure of the Taliban, then that's probably the case. And I hate to say that. I mean, it hurts to say that. But if he doesn't change strategy, I think that's probably the case.